Stick with me, we are diving into the wild story of a licensed hunter who streams games all day. Everything truly began right at graduation. Huge congratulations on finishing the Hunter Shield program. You are officially an E-rank hunter. He was never naturally gifted, so the guy put in double the effort of absolutely everyone else to catch up. Because of that, his dungeon and monster knowledge was completely unmatched. It should have been his proudest achievement, but the entire media just turned him into a massive joke instead. I think you totally misunderstood, kid. E-ranks just hold a license. You absolutely cannot join official hunter raids. No matter how incredible your academic record happens to look on paper, an E-rank hunter simply cannot defeat one single monster. That is exactly why 7 years ago, he quit being a hunter and became a streamer instead. But now, he was facing sudden unemployment all over again. Thank you for supporting Monsters Block. Monsters. After 11 p.m. tonight, all the active servers will be permanently shut down for good. Why was this even happening? This was the exact job he worked so incredibly hard to find after officially quitting the hunter life. Monsters Block Monsters was your classic tower defense game. It featured tons of unique monster types, and players just battled each other by recruiting beasts to fight completely on their behalf. At first glance, it looked super straightforward, but the monster stats, crazy combinations, formations, and exact attack timings all demanded some seriously careful tactical planning. Your monsters could also be upgraded and enhanced, though the actual success rate was brutally low. The bigger issue, no matter how insanely powerful your raised monster was, once it finally fell, it was just gone for good. As a round-based tower defense game, the class balance was absolutely terrible. A massive 3-star ogre getting destroyed by a weak 1-star goblin happened way too often. In his honest opinion, the developer was absolutely insane. Yet it was precisely that insane, brutal difficulty that kept his streams profitable. But now, the servers were shutting down forever, leaving him completely clueless on what to do next. His loyal viewers kept pushing him to go absolutely all out today, then finally returned to being a hunter. He really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He wanted nothing more than to be a proper hunter, but as an E-rank, he would never be allowed inside any dungeon. He quickly pushed that thought away. It was the game's very last day anyway, so he decided to challenge the absolute hardest content the game offered. A hell-tier raid simply called the Wave, where players must desperately defend their final castle against an endless, massive flood of furious monsters pouring inside. Now watch closely. Players had to survive 700 waves. Since launch, absolutely zero gamers had ever cleared it, or even reached wave 700. This was his final shot. After some seriously furious clicking, he finally hit wave 700. An endless horde of monsters came pouring out of the portal. Absolute insanity. So many terrifying monsters right from the start. He quickly commanded his archers to whittle them down from a distance. But the heavy arrows that normally tore through enemies barely made a tiny dent in the massive horde. Against such a devastating wave, the poor goblin archers were swallowed up almost instantly. Ding! Level 100 goblin archer has completely fallen. That specific goblin archer took massive effort to raise, but these monsters did not care. They aggressively kept pushing right toward the castle. Luckily, he still had his absolute heavy hitters on the field. One single strike took the head clean off a giant treant. Succubus Queen, I'm 130, it's all yours. But he totally missed it. Sneaking through the huge horde was a vicious hellhound. One-on-one, she had a chance, but surrounded by the full horde, trapped under those savage jaws, the Succubus Queen fell. So this was exactly what Wave 700 felt like. No matter how many powerful units he sent in, they all met the exact same end. They dropped one by one under the relentless pressure of the horde. It really looked like he failed again. He literally had zero monsters left to hold the wave. It was empty. You and I thought it was over, right? But suddenly, a blinding light erupted directly from the very center of his castle. Beneath that stunning light sat the sovereign, who had always just been asleep on the throne. Ding! First attempt at wave 700. The sovereign has beautifully awakened for you. Rising from her endless slumber, her loyal royal guard confidently stepped forward and presented her mighty sword. In the next instant, an overwhelming presence burst from within her. He was stunned. The sovereign was supposed to be nothing more than simple background decoration. He had never heard of her waking from the throne, let alone picking up a weapon and bravely fighting herself. What on earth was happening? Then, with one single strike, the sovereign instantly wiped out everything, moving toward the horde right behind them. Trust me, you are not ready for this. Not only did the sovereign jump into the horde, but her hidden power was just absolutely terrifying. Every single swing carried devastating force, rapidly cutting down surrounding monsters at a frightening pace. She merged pure speed and unbelievable strength into a fighting style that was just straight up monstrous. The monsters crumbled before her like they were made of literal paper, sliced to pieces by her flashing blade. As her ultimate attack unleashed, the final monster was completely dispatched with ease. The only things left in that hall were fallen monsters and the unharmed sovereign. A message flashed. "Congratulations, player. Wave 700 cleared." He stared at his screen in disbelief. Did you guys catch that? The sovereign. And here is where it gets crazy for us. That decorative sovereign was actually the game's strongest ally. But then, he suddenly noticed his stream had completely cut out, and his mouse was totally unresponsive. He could only see one single viewer message on screen. It read, "Massive thanks to the player known as what kind of garbage game is this? Because of you, the sovereign has awakened from her long sleep. Now a new journey can finally begin with you." He was left completely lost. Was this specific viewer seriously that obsessed with the game lore? Then another message popped up. The content synced perfectly with what was on his screen. "We hope the viewers will continue supporting us." The moment that weird viewer left the stream, everything just returned to normal. He was not entirely sure what to make of it, but this was his final time playing this game anyway. Now pay close attention. Here, right before his eyes, something he could barely believe actually happened. A literal game portal appeared. Just as he braced himself for monsters to charge through, it instantly transformed into a blue system panel. Monsters block, monsters sync complete. New skills acquired. Please select either conversation with the sovereign or deal with the sovereign. Were these really his brand new skills? Had he actually just reawakened? In that exact moment, intense conviction surged right through him. Exactly 7 years ago, when experts told him he could not participate in any hunter activities, he went out of his way to research and learn some hunters' awakened skills much later in life. It was incredibly rare, but when it happened, their hunter rank would skyrocket along with it. This was known as a reawakening, easily one of the rarest events imaginable. He did not know why this was happening now, but if fate was giving him another shot, he was absolutely grabbing it with both hands. Sorry, everyone, this is my final stream, because I am officially going back to being a full-time hunter. Name, Kim Han-ul. Strength, 10. Agility, 6. Stamina, 13. Intelligence, 5. Skill regeneration level 1. Contracted throne, none. Looking at these base stats left him completely speechless. He had just reawakened, so why had his stats not changed at all? Suddenly, a brand new window popped up. Would you like to view information on your new skills? New skills? Forget those basic stats. Just give him one single high-level skill, and he could easily take on the world. He clicked to view. New skills. Number 1, conversation with the sovereign. Number 2, deal with the sovereign. He stared blankly at those bizarre skill names, completely baffled. What was this even supposed to mean? You and I both want to test this. He clicked the deal skill, but an error popped up. Cannot activate due to a lack of gold. What was going on here? He had never heard of a skill that actually cost gold to use. How was he supposed to work with this? It was not like he could simply ask someone. Then he suddenly remembered that viewer, the person who left him that message after clearing the game. Maybe they could help him out. So he went live again. That exact viewer joined the moment he started, as if they had been waiting. Good morning, Mr. What kind of garbage game is this? Just as he fully expected, that mysterious viewer was still right there. He immediately cut the stream and sent the viewer a private message. His reawakening happened right after this viewer showed up. That meant his new power might somehow be connected to them. He decided to just be direct. This might sound crazy, but I actually had a reawakening yesterday. Do you know anything about reawakenings? The reply came back very quickly. He said he did. That fully confirmed it. What had happened to him was absolutely connected to this person. He knew that awakenings were totally beyond human control, which meant the strange person was most likely connected to a throne. So he was the guy behind this? But why him of all people? His mind was racing with questions. He quickly typed again. Why did this happen? No matter how much I think about it, I cannot figure out what you get from this. The exact moment he sent that message, the unbelievable happened. he was suddenly pulled into another dimension entirely. An invisible hand gently lifted him up, and a magical voice echoed out. Because the sovereign chose you, and it was thanks to you that the sovereign was able to awaken. That just confused him even more. What exactly had he done that could have possibly awakened the powerful sovereign? Was the voice talking about the sovereign from Monsters Block? Monsters? This was all completely tied to the game. The very next moment, he was back in his room. Things may be quite confusing right now, but you will understand in time, Mr. Hanal. Think of these new skills as a divine gift. But between you and me, he did not care about that at all. Let's dive into this wild ride. Hey, can you just explain how to use these skills first? Well, activating conversation with the sovereign takes serious practice to master. Then why can't I use the other one either? It literally says I lack the goal. The mysterious viewer just replied with a single question mark. Reaching right into the void, he pulled out an ancient book, furiously flipping pages for answers. Ah, it seems we have a slight system error. An error? What did that mean? Don't stress. I'll fix it now, and grant you 50 gold as your starting bonus. Once you get the gold, just activate the skill. All the details will make perfect sense afterward. I can't wait to see what you do next. The viewer vanished. It all felt completely unreal. So that guy actually had something to do with his brand new awakening. And this sovereign he kept mentioning must be some epic, legendary throne. While his brain was still processing all this, the bonus dropped. Starter pack received. 50 gold. Requirement met. Deal with the sovereign activated. Suddenly, a massive monster roster popped up, listing names and their gold prices. He completely froze in his tracks. The interface looked exactly like the recruitment shop from the game Monsters Block Monsters. Even the available monsters matched perfectly. In the game, these recruited beasts were summoned to your castle and used as pure combat units. Could he actually summon them into reality? If so, he'd never have to worry about being too weak to fight ever again. It felt exactly like class changing to a summoner, except he had to pay hard cash for every single summon. Now watch this. With 50 gold, he could just afford a goblin slave. Then, something totally wild caught his eye. Sovereign of Phantasm. Cost? Almost 1 billion gold. It also required a sovereign who had completely wiped out every game monster. As much as he desperately wanted her, seeing that insane price tag and impossible requirement made him drop the idea instantly. So, how do you actually earn gold in this crazy system? Well, the original game had two main ways to get rich. One was clearing dungeon missions for sweet rewards, and the other was hunting monsters to sell loot. If those same rules applied here, he would need to hunt actual monsters to earn that precious gold. The catch? On his own, he couldn't even scratch the weakest monster out there. That made the goblin slave his one and only option. He clicked recruit instantly. Ding! Goblin slave successfully recruited. These summoned beasts can be re-summoned later at 0 extra cost. Summoning your goblin slave right now. A terrifying surge of pure energy engulfed the entire room. He watched, totally stunned. Even summoning a bottom-tier monster created this overwhelming force. You and I know this is huge, his first summon. Then, the scene shifts. He's now at the Hunter Association. Hunter Kim Hanul. Let me confirm this again. You are just an E-rank hunter, and you intend to work totally alone? Given your current stats, only 4 requests are actually available. He quickly checked the list and picked one instantly. Listen, no backup can reach that area during an emergency. Are you absolutely certain about this? Yes. Completely positive. Please register me. After flying through the quick registration process, he marched out of the building feeling super pumped and excited. Mission? Completely wipe out the goblins occupying the back mountain. Rank 1. Client is the village chief. Before long, he arrived right at the described location. A worried villager sprinted from the rice fields. Welcome, Hunter. Thank you so much for traveling all the way out to our tiny, remote village. We've had that exact request posted for ages, and you are literally the only person who agreed to help. Because of those awful monsters, we haven't been able to gather any crops on the other mountainside for a whole week. Honestly, it was zero surprise. Nobody else wanted this job. The journey was super long, and the payout was just garbage. Hardly any hunters would travel out this far just to fight some basic goblins. Are you really okay going in alone, Hunter? Those goblins aren't as simple as they sound. I'm really worried you'll get hurt. Don't sweat it, Chief. I promise I will clear out every single one of those monsters for you. Saying a quick goodbye to the chief, he marched straight toward the forest where the goblins were supposedly hiding. According to intel, they had to be somewhere nearby. Suddenly, he heard a very odd noise. Turning his head to look, he could barely believe his own eyes. 3 goblins were just casually drinking from a mountain spring, acting completely carefree. This was absolutely nothing like the intense encounters he had read about in the textbooks. Slightly unexpected, sure, but nothing he couldn't handle. All he needed right now was to summon his unit. So what do you and I expect here? An epic entry. He pulls out a blue orb. Go, goblin slave. It shoots forward then drops totally flat at their feet. Seriously? What was happening? The 3 goblins just stared at the glowing orb, completely confused, before quickly spotting him awkwardly standing right there. Turns out, he used the wrong summoning method. Stick with me here. You and I are about to watch him turn this massive mistake into an absolute legendary masterclass. Running away? Totally pointless right now. He had to stand his ground and fight solo. Could he actually pull this off? Watch him. It was go time. Those feral goblins charged right at him, just as claws almost struck. Boom! Goblin slave successfully summoned to the field. In a split second, that charging enemy got launched across the field by one hit. Back when he first started playing Monsters Block Monsters, his very first recruit was exactly the same type. Since it was his original unit, he gave it everything, equipping every single rare item he could find. Thanks to that loyalty, this absolute beast alone carried him all the way through Wave 100. Now, he had his partner back. Gano's inventory, Windhammer, I think Raven leather armor in cloak, Raven leather boots, and the rank club of Hercules. His original companion was fully geared up. One massive swing instantly deleted 2 wild enemies. The final one saw the power and completely panicked. But Gano definitely wasn't letting anyone escape this battle. Skill, Raven's wings fully activated. Invisible wings burst from Gano's boots and he rocketed forward at maximum speed. In mere seconds, he completely erased the distance the terrified monster had tried to put between them. The moment they locked eyes, that enemy got absolutely flattened with the single heavy swing. Just like that, the entire group was totally handled. The sheer impact left our hero completely frozen. Gano was insanely overpowered. Gano flashed a slight grin and casually strolled over. Amazing job out there, Gano. You really are built different as my first recruit. But as his buddy approached, Gano lifted a hand like he wanted to ask for something. Wait, do you actually want a hug right now? Those big puppy eyes totally confirmed it. Ding. Gano's affection is at 20%. Wait, an affection system? You're probably thinking the exact same thing I am. Is this a dating sim now? Then a new alert popped up. When affection hits maximum, you unlock a brand new skill. His eyes instantly sparkled reading those words. Who's the absolute best guy around? Gano is the absolute coolest. You were totally incredible today. Ding. Gano's affection went up by 10. Anyway, the wild monsters were defeated, but absolutely zero loot dropped. Earning gold here clearly worked way differently than gaming. While he stood there completely confused, Gano muttered some mystery words, then dug around the fallen enemies and pulled out a handful of glowing rocks. He passed over 3 shiny blue stones, but our guy was totally clueless about them. When he glanced exactly where his partner pointed, he was completely amazed to see the game's portal magically appear right in reality. Gano took those glowing rocks and tossed them straight into the portal. 3 lowest grade mana stones sold, 30 gold earned. That explained absolutely everything. Unlike regular gameplay, real-world enemies dropped mana stones that you could literally sell, right? Through the portal for cash. He reached out and happily patted his loyal friend, offering high praise. Gano's affection increased by 5. Awesome. Now, he only needed his mission completion proof to finally head back home safely. But suddenly, a massive thunderous roar echoed from the deep woods, followed by an insane tremor violently shaking the entire forest. What in the world was happening? More enemies incoming? As they nervously stared into the deep woods with rising tension, the massive trees ahead of them started crashing down one by one. Pay attention. You and I need to watch this part. Whatever stepped out next left him completely speechless. An absolute unit the size of a literal mountain blocked the sunlight, lumbering straight toward them. Massive trouble incoming. Why was an ogre berserker wandering around this exact area? That insanely overpowered beast was only supposed to spawn in B rank missions. Then he realized something was super weird here. Its giant body was completely covered in scars, and its face showed fresh. brutal gashes near critical hit spots. It definitely just escaped a massive turf war, but even heavily injured, this absolute titan was way beyond his current power level. Adding to the massive stress, Gano only had 3 minutes left before despawning back home. Should they retreat while there was still time? Before he even decided, his buddy marched directly toward the ogre berserker. Totally unexpected, heroic move. Even facing a literal mountain of muscle, his loyal friend stepped up with completely chilled out confidence. Perfect. I'm putting all my faith in you. Give it absolutely everything. Skill Raven's wings activated. Now, he blasted forward at the massive beast with lightning speed. The giant was absolutely furious. A tiny guy dared challenge. It hoisted a massive tree trunk and swung it violently at him. But at the very last second, our boy pivoted, jumping incredibly high and dropping directly above the furious ogre berserker's giant head. He gripped the club of Hercules and smashed straight downward, pouring every single ounce of raw power into the massive impact. The legendary weapon slammed incredibly hard into the beast's arm. Right when the giant assumed it tanked the hit, its massive bones started violently snapping one by one, until even its enormous hand completely shattered under the sheer force. The resulting shockwave was so insanely powerful that our hero almost got blown away himself. Trust me, you and I won't forget this. That totally unstoppable giant was instantly defeated in one single strike. Let's dive right in. He stood there totally stunned, then quickly ran over to check. Gano, that was incredible. Now, time to collect the gold. But right as Gano tried handing over the mana stones from the ogre berserker, the timer simply ran out. In an instant, Gano vanished back to the castle. Gano's summon cooldown? 24 hours. He picked up those mana stones, and the trading portal opened up again. Toss the stones in. Mid-grade mana stone sold. 100 gold earned. Total gold. 130. First sale of a mana stone holding an ogre berserker's essence. Bonus reward granted 1 premium chest. In Monsters Block Monsters, this premium chest was the only way to grab rare items. But the drop rate? So incredibly low, it drove every player to absolute despair. The reward triggered, and a golden chest fell from the sky. But seeing it just didn't excite him like he expected. Why? Because even the absolute best gear from that chest could only be used by his recruited monsters in the game. Then, it was almost like the system had literally read his mind, because a new message popped up. Premium chest items can now be equipped by the player. If that was actually true, pulling a legendary item could make him just as incredibly powerful as Gano. While he was still thinking it over, 4 hunters suddenly came sprinting right out of the forest. Keep up, the tracks lead ahead, but watch closely. They all stopped dead at what they saw. The massive ogre berserker their team was tracking lay defeated on the ground. Standing right beside it was a young man. He recognized one of them instantly. Yun Su-an, captain of the Pombak Guild 2nd Unit, a rank. They were definitely chasing that exact ogre berserker. He needed to get out of there fast. But the second he turned to leave, they completely surrounded him. Tell me, did you defeat this ogre berserker? This troll their entire team barely managed to scratch, had been taken down completely solo by this totally unremarkable looking young man. 3B rank hunters working together hadn't even been able to finish it off. Even a wounded ogre berserker had B rank combat strength. That meant the person standing in front of her was at least in a rank. With that exact thought in mind, Yun Su-an extended her hand. Hi there, I am Su-an from the Pombak Guild. The exact moment their hands touched, a strange voice rang out inside Su-an's head. The Archangel of the Heavens has taken a strong interest in this person. Su-an was stunned. A divine being was interested in this guy, but he looked so completely ordinary. She decided to test the waters. Actually, this ogre berserker was supposed to be our target. We were worried it might cause serious damage to the area. Lucky you got to it first. Yeah, just lucky timing. It was barely alive by the time it reached me. He was totally lying. He was clearly hiding something big. In that case, there was only one move. I will give you the reward for this ogre berserker kill. He was completely stunned. Was she serious? He literally stole their guild's target. But I know you're not ready for what she said next. In exchange, I would like to ask you something. She pulled out her phone with a tiny hint of shyness. Could I get your contact info? He stood there completely speechless. The scene shifted. He returned to the village with the mission fully complete. Thank you for getting rid of that threat for us. Don't mention it. Actually, there's something I really wanted to ask you. Where is the Suryumbi? You really did your research before coming. Just follow this road, and you'll easily find it. That place is famous for bringing amazing good fortune. If you need a little luck, it'll absolutely do the trick. He wasn't really a believer in things like that, but this wild situation was totally different. Better safe than sorry, right? It couldn't hurt to try. Right then, a text message came in from Hunter Yun Su-an. Mr. Kim Hun-ul. This is Su-an from the Pongback Guild. As we discussed, we'll handle the disposal of the Ogre Berserker's remains. Please reach out when you drop by our guild. But his mind was completely stuck on the chest. The odds of pulling high-tier gear were low, but at least give him something decent. Opening your golden chest. As the chest opened, a pure beam of golden light shot out. The gear from these chests varied widely in quality, but the highest possible tier was always S rank. S rank items typically radiated a golden glow, and that exact same golden light was shining right in front of him. But then, an absolutely massive surge of red light erupted within it. What insane tier was this item? The scene shifted. He was back home. The mission had been extremely rewarding, netting him a really substantial amount of gold. But many powerful monsters in the recruitment panel were still locked. Why was that? The only available options were a goblin warrior and an ogre berserker. You and I are thinking the same thing. Don't tell me he has to defeat monsters before recruiting them. If that was the case, building a much stronger roster was going to be a really serious pain. Then, there was the crazy item he had pulled from the chest. Beholder's glasses. Rarity, totally unique. Item type, accessory. Description reads, crafted by a beholder sage who suffered from both astigmatism and nearsightedness. The ultimate gift for any beholder. Stats, all attributes +5. Alright, stick with me, we just found a legendary tier item that almost nobody has ever actually seen. Going by the game lore, its pure value blew right past anything of similar rank. He just had zero clue what it actually did. He equipped it to check. Instantly, pure magical energy surged into his eyes, and boom. Every single stat jumped up by 5 full points. Sage's Eye reveals target stats and skills. Usable twice daily. Best part? Using it on C rank targets or lower consumes absolutely zero charges. He was absolutely thrilled. This was epic. With this eye, he could scan an enemy's entire info sheet right in the middle of combat. But a nagging thought bothered him. Why him? Nothing in this crazy world ever came totally free. What would he have to trade for all this wild power? Then it hit. Warning. Warning. The wave is approaching. Players prepare defenses. He completely froze as those wild warning messages flooded his screen. It was the Monsters block. Monsters game interface. Wave 701 starts in 10 minutes. Players, prepare yourselves. Wave 701? What was happening? Wave 700 was already terrifying. What would Wave 701 even look like? If the player fails to repel this monster invasion, you lose all your power. Furthermore, this entire world will be completely destroyed by the monsters. He went completely still at the system message popping up. It looked exactly like the interface from Monsters block. Monsters. Watch closely. Was it telling him to stop these monsters right now? Why a game? And that terrifying consequence. If he failed, would the world actually be destroyed because of him? This was completely absurd. The wave arrives in 9 minutes and 23 seconds. Prepare to meet the invasion. He had zero time to waste. Time to prep. Monsters block. Monsters was a straightforward tower defense game at its core. The main goal? Stop monsters from reaching the castle. But thanks to its absolute brutal difficulty, stopping those monsters required a perfectly planned strategy. Not only did monsters need placing in the exact right spots, but the castle's defensive structures had to be used perfectly. Plus, there was a huge variety of wild items to always factor in, using every single element to build the perfect strategy for any situation. That was the true heart of this game. After some quick checking, he mastered the new interface. Basically, mouse and keyboard controls were just swapped out for touchscreen. By selling the mana stones he collected, he successfully recruited for monsters, totally including his original first recruit. He now had 5 units to deploy in the castle, 3 goblin warriors, 1 goblin slave, and 1 huge ogre berserker. He stared at the roster. Every single unit, except the goblin slave from the starter pack, was a monster he previously defeated. But 5 just wasn't enough. He desperately tried using his gold to instantly recruit more. Ding. New monster recruitment is temporarily unavailable after receiving a wave alert. Was the system serious? I know what you're thinking, how can anyone survive? Displaying Wave 701 details. Count Gular's Dragonwing unit, pack 6-star Count Gular, 45-star Wyverns, and 25-star half-dragons. Star ratings measured sheer combat power, perfectly representing any monster's raw, undeniable fighting potential. If that gap was too huge, the battle would be an absolute nightmare. Right now, he only had a 1-star Goblin and a 3-star Ogre Berserker. Normally, the grim outcome would have already been decided. Without enough gold or units, he couldn't even put together a basic strategy. Right as he was losing all hope. Special bonus. As the absolute sole player, you receive a unique special reward for this wave only. You may choose exactly one defensive structure and one item. The chosen item distributes to all units. Note, only one piece of wearable equipment per slot is legally permitted. But he couldn't bring himself to feel relieved. Did they really think this tiny bonus was enough to survive Wave 701? This was just beyond crazy, but with zero other options. He decided to show them what an absolute veteran of this game could really do. He had honestly spent more time playing this game than anyone. Anyone else might completely panic, wondering how to possibly stop this wave under these conditions. But for him, absolute miracles were still on the table. 50 seconds until the wave. With only these few units and 2 items. 15 seconds until the wave. He was absolutely going to hold them back. 1 second until the wave. He was totally ready. The wave began. Instantly, a huge swarm of angry wyverns came charging right out. Trust me, you and I aren't ready for this. Riding a lead wyvern right at the front was the terrifying wave boss himself, Count Gular. The front wyverns reached the castle, but were instantly stopped completely cold by a huge invisible wall. The monsters couldn't get through. Count Gular grew visibly impatient and furiously ordered his wyverns to attack the barrier. His brilliant strategy was working. Infinite Barrier defends against incoming monster waves regardless of their attack power. Durability only decreases by 1 per hit. Current durability 100. Stick with me. The Infinite Barrier was an incredibly fragile defense. Only unlocked if your monster's average rating set below 2 stars. Top players totally laughed at this beginner's toy. Above, the wyverns charged up and blasted massive, blazing fireballs right at the fragile shield. Hit by a dozen massive wyverns at once, the entire shield was instantly swallowed by roaring flames. Yet each blast only dropped durability by 1. The real nightmare here was the insane number of flying enemies. The barrier only held 100% durability. If all 61 monsters attacked together, it would instantly plummet below half. But our guy had a brilliant solution. Tap the screen like crazy. You see, this barrier had a super weird mechanic. Every single tap restored 1 durability point. As long as his fingers were blazing fast, they'd never break through. That's defense totally sorted. Alright, time to go entirely on the offensive. A bright golden beam shot out from inside the castle, landing directly on a wyvern's thick head. Just 1 point of damage. Normally, a basic goblin couldn't even scratch a powerful wyvern like that at all. But one epic item made it happen. Awakens Spoon, rank A, 2-handed slot. Any monster holding this bad boy can deal ranged damage, ignoring their star rating. Equipped with this, he could actually hurt those high-level wyverns, despite the massive star gap. The catch? The damage output was capped at a flat 1. He did the math, and chipping away at this monster wave would take roughly 60 straight hours. So now, it became an insane endurance test. Would he pass out first, or would the monsters get utterly spooned to defeat? Faced with this standoff, Count Gular had 0 solid options, and could only order his angry forces to keep attacking. As time passed, he realized constant tapping was way harder than it actually sounded. He reached for water to stay awake, but the second he moved, his body completely froze up. Turns out, all outside actions are locked during gameplay. Now pay attention, this is wild. The game was literally controlling his actual body. He swore he would destroy this insane game once and for all. Left with 0 choices, he just kept aggressively tapping with absolutely no way to rest or recover. Could he seriously survive 60 grueling hours? Honestly, an ordinary player would have totally given up all hope when facing an impossible situation exactly like this. But for Han, the real game was just starting. On one hand, relentless monster attacks were brutally chipping away at his fragile barriers. Remaining durability. On the other side, he was frantically smashing that screen to restore it. This heart-pounding tension was exactly what he loved about this game. Before he knew it, over 2 full hours had magically flown right by him. You insanely addicting game. Let's see who actually comes out as the ultimate winner. 12 hours straight of non-stop tapping. Securing the win would probably take another 48 hours of pure grinding. But as time crawled on, those massive wyverns finally dropped one by one. Seeing them drop, he finally felt relief. At least it proved his crazy strategy worked. Now it was just a brutal battle of pure endurance. Remaining monsters, 50. Remaining monsters, 30. Remaining monsters, 16. Remaining monsters, 2. All that remained now was the boss, Count Euler, and the huge wyvern at his feet. You and I both saw this coming. Watching his minions drop, Count Euler's fiery rage hit its absolute peak. But at that critical second, Hanel totally dozed off from sheer exhaustion. Warning, warning. Barrier durability dropping down to 2. The little goblin inside the castle wound up his tiny arm, hurling Hawkins' spoon with absolute maximum power at the final wyvern. But under Count Euler's swift command, the beast dodged it effortlessly. It ripped its jaws wide, charging up energy, before unleashing 2 massive fireballs all at once. They slammed brutally into the fragile barrier. Current barrier durability, 0. The barrier is shattering. What an absolute disaster. That was entirely my fault for dropping my guard. If he didn't act fast, the whole castle was done for. But at that critical moment, Gano charged aggressively forward, raising the Hercules club high. He launched himself straight at the hovering enemy. Even though the boss had an insanely high star rating, it was completely running on empty fumes right now. Decked out in top-tier gear, this was totally a fight worth taking. The exact second Gano clashed with his target, Count Euler and his giant wyvern were completely obliterated in one massive blow. The final 2 enemies wiped out at the exact same time. Gano turned out way stronger than Hanel ever imagined. Ding! Congratulations on fully clearing wave 701. Staring at the screen, Hanel could barely believe his eyes. Did I actually pull it off? Just incredible. Overwhelmed with pure hype, he collapsed onto the floor the very next second. He had absolutely zero idea how long he was out. Eventually, he slowly came back to reality. His eyes immediately locked right onto the glowing system window floating in front of him. Ding! Wave 701 rewards. You defeated Count Euler's elite Dragon Wing unit. The proud Count never dreamed his elite forces would be humiliatingly crushed by a simple spoon. Obtained 20 wyvern bones, 10 drake scales, 5 drake hearts. Looking at these rewards, Hanel was totally puzzled. What was he even supposed to do with these random materials? Suddenly, ding! Repel the wave, completed. 50 hours played, completed. That's where we leave it, trust me. You'll want to see how he unlocks the sovereign conversation next. Stick with me here. He didn't know the remaining conditions, but he was finally one step closer to chatting with the sovereign. Ding! Verifying the ultimate reward. A blinding flash erupted right from the system. Hanel was absolutely speechless seeing that epic prize in front of him. Meanwhile, his phone on the desk had somehow racked up 7 missed calls completely unnoticed. The scene then shifted over to the Hunter Association building. 2 intense hunters waited in the lobby. Yun Suok, S-rank vice leader of the Pungbake Guild. How could an E-rank possibly defeat an ogre berserker? That guy is totally a fake. Well, not necessarily. Word is he recently had a second awakening. You actually believe that crazy rumor? Second awakenings are incredibly rare. Right then, Hanel rushed inside, absolutely buzzing with pure excitement. So sorry to keep you waiting. Personal stuff came up, so I completely missed my phone. Wait, you left my sister waiting for 3 whole days, and you think a simple sorry fixes that? Brother, I already told you it is totally fine. Hanel, just pretend he is not here. Just as we discussed, we are handing over the reward for defeating that ogre berserker. But first, come with me to officially wrap up the registration. The desk staff, however, was not convinced. How could an E rank take down an ogre berserker solo? We need to verify your stats to see if you can actually handle these monsters. Cut to them standing before a massive crystal. Hanel had not been tested since his epic second awakening. Now pay attention here. That huge red crystal is essentially a mana scanner, and we are finally about to discover his true, updated rank. The moment he pressed his palm flat against the cold crystal surface, a brilliant glow exploded from inside. Scan complete. Analysis result. Hanul is officially an S rank. Everyone in the room stood completely frozen. He never imagined being this incredibly lucky, all from surviving Wave 701. The system granted him a broken new skill called Lord's Afterimage. It basically inherits the strongest monster stat bonuses from the previous wave. It works for 30 minutes every single day. Once the timer runs out, you just have to wait until tomorrow to activate it again. Wave 701's strongest boss was 6-star Count Guler. While testing his rank, Hanul secretly activated that Lord's Afterimage skill. His stats instantly shot through the roof. Time remaining, 24 minutes and 49 seconds. With this wild skill, he was no longer that weak. Nobody, even without recruiting any backup monsters, he flexed genuine S rank power. Sure, it only lasted 30 minutes a day, but to anyone clueless about the secret, he was a completely legitimate S rank. You saw that coming, right? Those wild test results completely changed the Yun siblings' minds. This proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt. I defeated that ogre berserker entirely solo. Expect the official reevaluation results by tomorrow. Right then, Suok suddenly dropped a massive offer, asking him to join the Pungbei Guild. But our guy had not even considered joining any factions yet. Let me think about it. And just like that, he confidently walked right away. News of his epic S rank status instantly broke the entire internet. He never actually expected to become famous. The Hunter Association quickly sent over a text. Based on today's mana scan, Kim Hanul's license is officially upgraded from E rank to B rank. Effective immediately, entering any S rank and below gates or dungeons is fully authorized and approved. He really hoped to jump straight to S rank, but association rules only allowed jumping 3 ranks maximum. When Hanul finally opened up his live stream chat, the excited viewers were already going absolutely crazy. And of course, the main topic was the mysterious S rank who just debuted today. Apparently, Yun Suok personally invited this guy to her guild and got totally rejected. Alright guys, since we are talking about hunters, I actually have a fun question for everyone watching today. Now that I am an active hunter again, which dungeon should I tackle first? You are not seriously thinking about streaming inside a dungeon, right? That is totally illegal. Right. Under the association's strict confidentiality agreement, any recording directly violates the Hunter Protection Act. So, I will just post the clear proof afterward. Within the rules, I will share what I can. The fans were absolutely thrilled. This was going to be epic. Big guilds always kept their dungeon secrets completely locked down. A viewer named Monster Stopping Hunter suggested, if you are picking a dungeon, it has to be Mad Dragon's Nest. But immediately, a notification popped up. Trash Game Bros saying fan donated 50,000 won. Just ignore that guy. I say you go tackle the Giant's Kitchen. Baldi's our op suddenly donated 1 million won. He suggested heading out to the Spider Forest and literally ripping a leg off the queen. Now, that would make for some crazy content. The viewers immediately started passionately arguing over picks. He tried calming the chat, but someone just dropped 10 million won. Trust me, you will want to see what happens next. Stick with me here. Hanul was floored by that number. Who is this huge spender? Viewer 1 entered the chat, making their presence known. So, with a donation that massive, which dungeon are you recommending? Viewer 1 replied slowly, the deepest part of the Garden of Meditation. The rest of the chat completely lost it. Nobody had ever successfully cleared that place. The Garden of Meditation dungeon had 3 zones: the entrance, the lake, and the deepest part. The entrance area was a relatively safe hunting zone, but the central lake, already incredibly dangerous, let alone the deepest part, which absolutely nobody had ever managed to clear. From what I know, Yun Suok of the Pun Beak Guild was the first to clear the central lake, and in interviews, he openly admitted that clearing the central zone was his absolute limit. And now, they wanted Hanul to take on the deepest part. That was simply impossible. But right then, viewer 1 spoke up again. You do not actually need to clear the dungeon. Just reaching the deepest part of the Garden of Meditation fully counts as completing the task. And I will give you all the help you need. The other viewers pushed back hard. Someone could perish doing this. Do not fall for it, streamer. This is insanely dangerous. But if it was just about reaching the deepest point and coming straight back, Hanul thought he might actually pull it off, especially with viewer 1 there to help. After thinking it through carefully, he decided his first target would definitely be the Garden of Meditation. The scene cut to Han Ul registering over at the Hunter Association building. He easily secured a spot for the next day's run into the Garden of Meditation. But just as he was leaving, to strangers, a man and a woman suddenly called out to him. Now watch closely. Because of his shocking S rank, he became a target for multiple guilds. Even the Santa Ray Guild and the Segai's Guild showed up to recruit him. These two were literally ranked among the top 3 guilds in the country. Together with the Pun Beak Guild from before, all 3 major powerhouses had come knocking. Even so, Han Ul turned them all down flat. I am sorry. I have something important to handle right now, and with that, he walked away. Joining a guild at this point would honestly do him no good. It would only slow him down. His absolute top priority right now was the Garden of Meditation. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Yun Suok, the vice leader of the Pun Beak Guild, finally picked up Han Ul's call. I am planning to head to the deepest part of the Garden of Meditation dungeon. I was hoping you could share some useful information. Information? That is precious intel for our guild. Why on earth would I tell you anything? Because I have a way to clear the entire Garden of Meditation dungeon. Suok totally froze. Are you serious? Absolutely. If I successfully clear it, I will tell the media that your guild helped me get there. So, you do have something to back that up. But can you really clear it alone? I guarantee it. No problem at all. Alright then, I will take the gamble. But first, you need to join my guild. Before he could even finish, Han Ul confidently turned him down. Han Ul told him the other 2 major guilds had also come to recruit him. Suok was completely stunned. Damn it. Those 2 must have caught on as well. Even so, they are going after him? With that, Suok finally decided to work with Han Ul instead. Let me be up front. The intel I have only covers up to the central zone. I do not know anything about what lies beyond, and the dungeon may have changed over the past year. With that, Suok told Han Ul absolutely everything he knew. The scene shifted to Han Ul arriving at the entrance of the Garden of Meditation dungeon, where several other hunters were already waiting. You saw that too, right? He put on the beholder's glasses, a ridiculous item adding 5 to all stats. When the bald man spotted Han Ul walking over, he turned around and spoke up. Are you the guy who signed up to tackle this dungeon completely alone? Nice to meet you. I am Cho Kwang-soo from the Bulgal Guild. Honestly, I not stand people like you who casually cut in line. Some people have waited a full month just to get enough members together and finally coordinate the schedule. And you just waltz right in because of your S-rank mana. So, do not expect any help from us in there. An S-rank mana reading means absolutely nothing to us. That kind of label is completely useless in actual combat. He turned his back on Han Ul and went back to discussing the run with his teammates. Clearly, Han Ul's people skills were even worse than he had thought. From their perspective, he really was just an outsider. Normally, taking on a dungeon required meeting a minimum head count and booking a full month in advance. So, his sudden appearance made complete sense as something to deeply resent. Either way, let me take a look at what you have got. Skill, Sage's Eye activated. He scanned the group and saw they were all C-rank hunters. Fortunately, absolutely none of them would be able to follow him into the deepest part. If anyone got a look at his secrets, things could get complicated. Before long, the person in charge activated a powerful spell. A massive energy surge opened the dungeon entrance. Everyone get in quickly. Trust me, you and I want to see this. The gate was barely holding on. Han Ul was the final person to step inside. This was actually his very first dungeon run. Stick with me here, we are about to find out exactly what this place is. The Garden of Meditation. Capacity, 20 hunters. It was a conditional clear breakthrough zone. The second Han Ul arrived, Viewer 1 sensed him, watching over the entire dungeon like an absolute boss. Hunter Han Ul, good luck. By the Sovereign's request, the layout of the Garden of Meditation will be partially adjusted right now. And just like that, the entire dungeon started shaking violently. The scene flips back to the group inside. Kwang-soo was leading the charge, but he suddenly realized that something felt totally wrong. He could barely trust his own eyes. This is definitely not the main entrance area. What exactly is going on? A massive lake like this had no business being at the main entrance. That meant they had stumbled right into an unknown zone. This was super weird. Suok gave them intel saying the entrance stage was super simple. They just had to hunt pig mallets in the open field to win. But obviously, things went totally sideways. Right then, a glowing system window popped up for everyone. Ding! Welcome to the lake zone of the Garden of Meditation. Handing over the mission briefing. Because too many pig mallets were hunted down, they went straight into hiding. Protect the remaining pig mallets from the predators before nightfall hits. Clear this, and you pass through the lake zone into the deepest part of the dungeon. Now, pay attention, this is where everything goes completely off the rails. Everyone started panicking. Why did they get stuck with this mess? Boss, let us just quit. It is early enough that we can totally bail and leave. But when Kwang-soo pulled up his status panel to back out, he realized it was completely impossible. He had been trying to quit the whole time. There is just no escape. Current pig mallets remaining, 130. 2 were just eliminated by predators. Current remaining, 128. Kwang-soo rushed over and begged Han-ul to explain what in the world was happening. I honestly have no idea why things ended up like this either. But I do have solid intel about this lake zone. If you want me to share it, I have exactly one condition. Until this mission is over, you follow my every command. While Kwang-soo and his team hesitated, the pig mallets dropped to 124. First things first, let us learn the terrain. Han-ul quickly drew a rough map in the dirt. There is a massive lake at the center. Streams from all across the forest flow right into it. Kwang-soo looked totally confused, wondering how Han-ul knew all this stuff. Han-ul claimed he had a scouting skill to sense his surroundings. What nobody else realized was that this detailed map actually came straight from the incredible Lord's Castle of Illusions. Our goal is rescuing the pig mallets from those predators. First, we need to find exactly where they are. They live in wetlands. So, based on their habits, these 8 specific spots are likely where they hide out. We have to find them before the predators wipe them out, and bring them all together to protect them safely. While Han-ul was explaining, the pig mallets dropped down to 121. If there are no questions, let us split up and search. Kwang-soo instantly ordered all his teammates to spread out and head directly toward those marked locations on the map. Han-ul stayed behind all by himself. The Lord's Castle of Illusions gave him secret intel about Meditation Lake. A special hidden quest definitely exists here. You saw that too, right? What could this wild hidden quest actually be? While searching the area, he spotted a squad of armed lizardmen. Were these the vicious predators hunting down the poor pig mallets? These lizardmen were D rank alone, but together, their combined group strength became absolutely formidable. Right when Han-ul tried to avoid them, he heard voices nearby. We cannot just run around following orders from some random guy we do not even know. Unbelievable. These 2 guys had gone off completely alone and wandered straight into this dangerous area. The long-haired guy was still acting all smug about it when a sudden flash of steel cut the air. A lizardman vanished, reappeared, and took him down completely. His terrified companion completely froze up at that sight. Snapping back to reality, he charged in furiously with his fist raised high. He threw a massive thundering punch, but out of nowhere, a hand shot forward and caught it. Lizardman gains swarm bonus, rank elevated from D to B. The man simply stared in absolute terror at what was unfolding before him. 4 giant monsters had totally surrounded him. With one violent yank, the lizardman brutally crushed the poor guy's arm. Right as the lizardman raised its huge weapon for the final strike, a hand calmly caught it mid-air. That hand belonged to none other than Han-ul's absolute top fighter, the goblin slave Gono. While the stunned guy stared in pure confusion, Han-ul casually walked right over. I am fairly certain the assigned search area was not right here. Guess I really should not have expected much from you. Go get yourself patched up now. I will handle this. The man grabbed his injured arm and ran away. Gono, we lack time. Wrap this up. Trust me, we are about to watch this goblin go totally wild. Skill Raven's wings activated. Moving at blinding speed, he constantly darted back and forth around the lizardman. You and I are about to witness some terrifying speed. So don't blink. Gono instantly found an opening, bringing his weapon down hard and wiping one out completely. Before the rest could even process it, he casually took out another one. An enraged lizardman aggressively slashed with its claws. But Gono smoothly slid right under the attack. Countering with the lightning-fast backhand strike, he easily took down another beast. Watching this, Han-ul totally relaxed. This wasn't a fight, it was total domination. Suddenly, one of the remaining lizardmen swung its heavy blade and charged straight at Han-ul. These monsters definitely weren't dumb, aiming straight for the leader. But man, they picked the absolute wrong target today. Skill. Lord's afterimage successfully activated. An overwhelming surge of power erupted from inside him. He drove his massive fist straight into the monster. Lord's afterimage means the stats of the strongest monster from the previous wave are added to your own. Effect time remaining, 29 minutes and 49 seconds. Meanwhile, Gono had already finished off the remaining lizardmen. Good work, Gono. Keep it up. Gono's affection increased by 10 points. After Han Al sold all the mana stones he collected, his current goal, 370 grams. First sale of a mana stone containing a lizardman's soul. The Lord's Castle of Illusions has issued one premium draw ticket. Time until Goblin Slave returns to the castle, 7 minutes. There is absolutely no time to waste. Gono getting recalled would be a problem. While Han Al was completely stressing out, Gono flashed a sly grin. You can pay gold to extend Gono's summon time. Cost? 5 gold per 10 minutes. So, that was actually an option. As long as he had the funds, he could keep his amazing summons working overtime. Watch closely, because this is where things flip on us. A huge herd of pig mallets came running. What was happening? Why did they suddenly show up right here? And with so many of them panicking, how was Han Al supposed to get them somewhere safe? To Han Al's absolute surprise, Gono started making strange jabbering sounds at the pig mallets. It seemed like these monsters could actually communicate with each other perfectly. After Gono made the quick introduction, the pig mallets looked at Han Al like he was their grand savior, practically trembling with excitement. They immediately crowded around him, desperately begging for his help. And just like that, Han Al confidently led the entire group of pig mallets toward the lake center. Along the way, they casually took out another pack of lizardmen. The Lord's Castle of Illusions has officially run out of funds for purchasing mana stones. Mana stones cannot be obtained through hunting until funds are replenished. The maximum capacity for the Lord's Castle has been reached. Lizardmen Warriors 10, Crossbowmen 5, Spearmen 5, max capacity. Han Al never honestly thought the day would come when the castle would run completely out of gold. On top of that, there was a strict cap on how many monsters he could command. That meant there was no point hunting more lizardmen going forward. What truly mattered right now was keeping these pig mallets safe. He had 60 with him, and the total remaining was 70. That meant the others had only managed to save 10. I know what you're thinking, but we aren't safe yet. The pig mallet suddenly went absolutely wild, bolting toward the center. He didn't know why, but he had to follow and keep them totally safe. When they reached the central area of the lake, the others were already standing there. Nightfall has officially arrived. The slaughterers have ceased their hunt. Remaining pig mallets, 70. Congratulations on successfully protecting the pig mallets from harm. Mission formally complete. Epic hidden quest achieved. 70 or more pig mallets survived. Just as everyone was cheerfully celebrating, surviving, and finally leaving this nightmare, the great tree at the lake center was suddenly thrust upward by a massive, violent wave from below. The trial of meditation has officially begun. The previously calm lake suddenly erupted into a massive, towering wave, sweeping toward everyone. In an instant, it swallowed Kwang Su and his group. Then it came crashing straight toward Han Al. Against a wave that insanely massive, there was literally nothing he could do. But just when all seemed lost, the pig mallets beside him began glowing with golden light. A strong barrier formed, holding the wave back. The pig mallets you rescued from the slaughterers are expressing their immense gratitude. They will now serve as your powerful shield, protecting you. Endure this trial for 10 minutes alongside the souls you have gathered. Han Al had no idea they possessed this kind of power. He had been wondering what the trial of meditation was all about. Now, it finally made perfect sense. There was a reason they saved these little creatures. In other words, the more pig mallets you saved, the safer you would be, which meant the others were in very serious danger. Kwang Su already looked like he was barely holding on. He only had one single pig mallet, shielding him from the crashing waves. Time remaining, 9 minutes. There was absolutely no way he could last that long. The others are doomed. So how will we save them? Stick around, because this hidden quest changes absolutely everything. Trust me, you and I are about to watch him crush this trial by hunting down the mysterious monster lurking at the lake bottom. Taking out that beast instantly clears the test. The Lord's Castle was sending him a very clear and obvious message. Here, the sovereign practically begged Han Al to beat this hidden quest. So, he threw on the beholder's glasses. He had to uncover what kind of creature was hiding down there. Boom! A named monster popped up on the radar. Name, Zankuruk. Elite monster. Base stats, Strength 25, Agility 35, Stamina 30, Intelligence 90. Skills, Cataclysmic Wave Level 1, Cataclysmic Storm Level 1, Infant God Tears Level 5. A legitimate named monster. These bosses were on a completely different level entirely. They pack exclusive skills that normal mobs simply do not have, making them an absolute nightmare. Clearly, this hidden quest was going to be tough. Even worse, Gono completely lacked water resistance. Taking this fight underwater would be a massive, crushing disadvantage. Time to summon some fresh talent. He activated Deal with the Sovereign, and the monster recruitment list dropped. Lucky for him, water-resistant Ogre Berserker was up for grabs. But unlike Gono, this guy spawned with 0 gear. Raw stats alone simply would not cut it against a named boss. Hanel desperately needed an item to buff this absolute beast. So he cashed in that premium draw ticket from earlier. He popped the chest open and blinding golden light exploded outward. Now pay attention here. That glow guarantees S rank gear. But when the flash cleared, a dusty, old, worn-out hat just sat there. Hanel stood there completely stunned. Meanwhile, the violent underwater currents were getting worse by the exact second. If he waited, his team would be totally wiped out. No time to second-guess this. Going all in. Ding. 420 gold vanished instantly. Recruitment complete. Summoning Ogre Berserker. Instantly, a totally terrifying beast spawned right before his eyes. He wasted no time slapping that shiny new item onto the giant. But the second the hat went on, the brute just totally face-planted. Hanel stared, totally baffled. What just happened? Meanwhile, Kwangsu lost his grip and got violently swept away by the roaring current. Hanel had zero choice but to dive straight in. Lord's afterimage only had 12 minutes left. He needed speed. Pushing past his absolute limits, he dragged Kwangsu right out of the raging water. He clung to a massive tree trunk to anchor himself down. But wow, the sheer force of that wave was way stronger than expected. Just as his finger started slipping, the Ogre Berserker charged in, literally throwing its massive body against the rushing water as a living shield. Then, defying all logic, the massive ogre actually spoke. "My lord, are you alright? Forgive my delay. Your humble servant bows before the true king." Hanel was absolutely speechless. What kind of wild beast did he just summon? Archmage Gandalf's hat. S rank. Head slot. A relic from the legendary Archmage who once saved the world from total destruction. If a total fool wears this, they instantly become a brilliant genius. Intelligence, plus 30. This absolute miracle is all thanks to you, my lord. Wearing this hat feels like I have been completely reborn. Just say the word, and please give me your absolute first command. I will execute it with every ounce of my soul. But before I order you, one quick question. Can you cast actual magic right now? Absolutely. I just channeled magic through this giant tree trunk to hold the river back. A massive smirk crossed Hanel's face. Now, listen very carefully. Here is command number 1. Smash right through this raging storm and push straight toward the lake's center. I will follow right behind you. I hear and obey, my glorious lord. I absolutely will not fail. The berserker hoisted the tree and bulldozed forward. Let that sink in. We just watched this guy use a whole tree trunk as a magic staff. Absolutely incredible. Since your brilliant mind is finally awake, let me name you. How does Adolf sound? Finally getting a real name, Adolf looked incredibly, deeply moved. Do not worry, my lord. I will dedicate my entire life to repaying this massive favor. Burning with pure hype, Adolf accelerated, pushing aggressively straight into the danger zone. Moving like that, they would hit the center instantly. But down in the depths, the boss, Zenkuruk, finally realized something was going horribly wrong. Wait, someone is actually shattering my water magic and invading my territory? That should be completely and physically impossible for anyone. Zenkuruk triggered another defensive spell. Instantly, the massive tree trunk in Adolf's grip slammed to a halt. My lord, a unique magic wall is blocking us. My mana reserves simply cannot shatter this. Hey, whoever told you to use magic against it? Try smashing it with pure, raw strength instead. Adolf got the memo instantly, swinging that giant tree and hammering the magical barrier. The entire shield violently trembled. What in the world? Only a high-tier mage should pierce my water spells. Based on that insane shockwave, this intruder is a beast. But my cataclysmic wave is a perfect wall. Smashing this absolute defense requires launching devastating physical damage and high-level magic. At the exact same time, you and I know better. He thinks a magic and physical combo is impossible, making his defense truly unbreakable. Stick with me here, because things are getting wild. Adolf unleashed magic and pure muscle together, instantly cracking the barrier. Keep pushing, it is almost done. Seeing his barrier crumble, Zenkuruk totally lost his cool. No way, how could a simple mage smash this defense? Before he could blink, the shield completely caved under Adolf's insane strikes. Boom, the whole thing exploded into pieces. Finally, Zenkuruk saw exactly who just wrecked his masterpiece. Wait, what in the world? Why is a massive ogre berserker standing out there? The monster was completely baffled that a brute forced its way inside. Plus, no basic ogre berserker could ever punch through his top-tier water magic defense. Wait, is this giant actually an ogre berserker mage? We finally meet face to face. Zenkuruk, ready to surrender? Do not think you have won just by standing before me. Smashing that shield must have completely drained you. But me, my mana is totally full. Instantly, it triggered a massive water spell. A gigantic sphere of pure liquid formed right above them. Boss, the enemy's energy feels absolutely massive. What is our next move? Hey Adolf, can you use ranged magic? The giant immediately understood the assignment. He poured all his energy into a massive tree trunk and launched it with absolute power. Zenkuruk just scoffed. You think a flying log will stop my spell? Absolutely hilarious. I already cast a supreme defensive shield around my body. A basic trick like that will never connect. But in a flash, that epic strike totally ripped through the defenses. Zenkuruk was stunned that it was actually defeated. Now pay attention, because this next part is pure comedy. Adolf, what spell was that? The impact was completely unreal. Wait, that was not magic. I literally just threw a tree. Meanwhile, back at the main guild headquarters, Boss Kangwon, I promise you this guy is a total legend. We absolutely need him. You said his name is Kim Hanul, correct? Choi Kangwa, S rank, leader of the Pungbake Guild. It seemed the crazy dungeon battle was over. Adolf passed Hanul, the glowing energy stone dropped by the boss. Hanul grabbed it and instantly fed it straight into the Lord's Castle of Illusions. One elite soul stone sold. The Sovereign has now issued your epic rewards. 1 special space ticket, 1 premium draw ticket. Reward, 4,000 gold. But wait, due to low funds in the castle, the gold gets delayed for now. The powerful elite monster, Zenkuruk, is officially added to the Lord's Castle. Zenkuruk can now fight in defense battles. Checking his shiny new loot, Hanul calmly walked back over to where the group was waiting. Thank you so much, man. We only made it because of you. Everyone else was totally exhausted, but thankfully, the whole team pulled through safely. Seeing Hanul walk back, Kwang Su fought past his pain, stood right up, and slowly approached the hero. Mr. Hanul, catching that serious look, Hanul panicked internally. What is this guy planning? Please do not make this super embarrassing. You see this coming, right? Kwang Su literally drops to his knees. I seriously cannot thank you enough for saving my entire life. I'm incredibly sorry for causing so much trouble earlier. Thank you for protecting me and all my guild members. Hey, no need for all this. Rescuing people is just part of the hunter job. Now get up quickly. The rest of the crew is waking up. You really do not want them catching you crying. That kindness hit Kwang Su right in the heart. I swear I will repay this massive debt someday. Congrats on clearing the trial. All surviving challengers will receive sweet rewards. You can exit right now or push even deeper inside. Anyone currently knocked out will be instantly teleported out of the dungeon. Kwang Su quickly asked Hanul what his next move was. I still have unfinished business here, so I'm going deeper inside. Kwang Su was completely confused. Should you not leave and regroup first? I will gladly help you tackle this entire dungeon afterward. I appreciate the offer, but I have my own backup crew. Right on cue, Adolf and Gono stepped out looking absolutely fierce. The second Kwang Su caught a glimpse of Adolf's super intimidating face, he completely freaked out in terror. He frantically tripped backward a few steps just to get away. Okay, I see. You definitely do not need our help. Ding. All challengers have chosen. Now initiating the automatic withdrawal for all eliminated participants. With a quick goodbye, the Bogle Guild members stepped into the glowing portal and vanished. Huge congratulations on finishing the secret quest. Suppress the trial source. Special reward obtained. Meanwhile, cutting back to the Pungbake Guild's main headquarters. Are you saying we really must recruit Kim Hanel? Yes, boss. I did the research. His potential is just enormous. But Kangwa completely rejected the idea. Our Pungbake Guild is already the strongest around here. We do not need to chase after untested rookies. We already have way too much going on anyway. Suddenly, a phone on the desk started flashing. Danger! A red flag tier dungeon just spawned. A massive emergency disaster warning. Something went horribly wrong inside the local dungeon zone. And the spot triggering this terrifying red flag? The Garden of Meditation, the exact same place Hanel was exploring. Top officials immediately took over the site, placing it under strict lockdown. You and I gotta hold our breath. Kangwa rushed over with the Yun siblings, because this dungeon is about to go totally critical. Let's jump in. Citizens are evacuating, and the Pungbake Guild must handle any wild emergency. Wait, what about the hunting crew trapped inside the dungeon? 6 hunters have safely made it out already. They reported one crazy guy stayed behind, dropping straight down into the absolute deepest, most dangerous dungeon zone. Suddenly, a massive dude steps onto the scene. S-rank Ma Dongpal, Sega's guild boss, warmly greets the Pungbake leader after a long time. He asks about the wild hunter pushing further down, but before Kong Wu can even reply, a totally different voice interrupts the chat. Watch closely. That single person is absolutely causing all this dungeon instability. It is S-rank Sonari, the boss of the Sonari Guild. The big 3 top leaders are finally standing together right in one place. Nobody has ever reached the absolute bottom of this place before. So honestly, that wild theory makes the most logical sense right now. But who in the world actually went down there? Right then, a panicking staff member rushes over, yelling that they finally identified the mysterious deep zone explorer. Survivors confirmed the guy who stayed entirely alone. Trust me, you gotta see this. S-rank hunter, Kim Han-ul,